I've told a story about my high school, but that wasn't where the interesting tales started in my life. Oh no. In fact, my time in middle school was full of really great stories too. One of the most memorable was in the 6th grade. During that year, I was going to school in Singapore, actually, and at that school we had this event called Activity Week. During Activity Week, students could choose to either go on a week-long field trip to Malaysia, or stay at school and go to 5 individual field trips within the city. Now, I didn't want to go on a week-long camping trip with a bunch of middle schoolers. Yes, I was a middle schooler too, but still. So I decided to stay and go on the individual field trips. Each and every day was themed differently, so I have 5 stories to tell. On Monday, we had to go to 2 different locations, and the theme was the primary export of internet content: trash. The first place we got to go was a trash incinerator plant. We walked through the entire facility, through increasing floors and disgusting smells. There was this one section that was a gigantic room full of trash, with 2 robotic claws picking stuff up like an arcade game. Then, at the end of the trip, we were able to see what the incinerator looked like. All I can describe is a gigantic wall of fire like the pits of hell, but surrounded by a smell only comparable to a on top of all shoved into a with a little on top and then slow roasted in a. After we went to the plant, we had to go to the beach to pick up trash, and even though it wasn't a competition, everyone in the class was going buck wild trying to find as much damn trash as possible. We were paired into groups of 3 people, and even though, like I said, it wasn't a competition, my group won. We filled up 2 whole trash bags, more than any other group. We found a broken bottle, a lottery ticket that could have won $1 million. Obviously, it didn't win, or I wouldn't be making these videos. And on top of that, we found a tire about 100 meters from the nearest road. The message here is, Singapore beaches are weird. Tuesday's theme was good old H2O. First, we went to a water processing plant that was designed for teaching and presenting to students. We walked through a hallway of videos describing the purification process, then it ended in a lobby with a bunch of water-based cheap video games that were completely too good than they had any right to be. After the treatment plant was a giant water park. We got to go there for a total of 3 hours, which was most likely the best school day I have ever had. However, it was also where I learned the concept of betrayal, because when my friends said that we were going to hang out all the time, they ditched me the moment I turned my back and didn't even see them until hours later. So even though I was having fun, it was the first event of true backstabbing. On the 3rd day, we went to explore nature in a wildlife sanctuary. I have no idea how I'm gonna machinimate this. We went on a drive through the Singaporean forest to see all the cute little critters all over the place. For one of the smallest countries in the world, Singapore has a lot of open jungle space. We saw snakes and birds and other things that are going to be difficult to visually portray in this video. After that, there was a wildlife tour through the forest as a guide told us a bunch of information that I obviously don't remember because it was 6th grade and I probably forgot after 10 seconds. At the end of the day, we went to the top of a giant tree tower and ziplined about 1/4 mile to another island. Not the most dramatic story, but in the moment it was a very adrenaline-filled experience. On Thursday, we went to experience what life is like for people with disabilities. The one I remember most is eating like blind people. We were placed in a completely dark room and had to use our hands to our complete environment. And what I remember most is that blind people put their hands around the rim of a cup to feel if it's overflowing. After the meal, we were brought to another facility where we put on headphones that completely canceled out sound to experience what it was like for deaf people. We were told to do a series of mundane tasks and even had to communicate with each other to try and get it done, which, for a bunch of children, was a very big ask. After this, the final test we did was going to a place that had us sit in wheelchairs for an extended period of time, and had us move around to feel how life is like for people with physical disabilities. This included moving through which can only be described as an obstacle course, where we had to go through a series of turns in a track to get to the end. It was a very educating experience, and I'm actually really glad I got to do it. The final day was when I learned about capitalism. Granted, that wasn't the intended purpose, but sometimes you gotta adapt. We were brought to a kitchen where, in groups of 2, we were told to bake some cookies. So, after several minutes of many confusions on the weird plastic cone squirter thing, I was able to make a batch of cookies. Now, after that, we went to a hospital and was supposed to hand them out to patients there. Once again, this was not a competition. But to capstone this week the way it started, we started trying to give away as many cookies as possible. It is now while writing this that I realize how easy it was to trick middle schoolers into doing community service and environmental labor. Anyway, my capitalism skills came into play when I established the best strategy to sell the most cookies. I concocted a complex scheme of phases and variables to get the math just right on how to distribute the most cookies. I gave them to the maternal ward, because I figured new mothers would appreciate some cookies after, well, you know. While we were in the hospital, we went through a guided presentation where the doctors showed us all the different rooms and wings, and showed us what each machine did. There were things like MRIs and CAT scans and all that jazz. So that was my week, learning new experiences that were immediately forgotten. Just a lovely story of trash, capitalism, and water-based Mario spin-offs. From what I heard, the trip to Malaysia that the others took wasn't very fun, so I think I made the right choice. But I'm not gonna lie, the different themes of the week made it feel like we were living in episodes of a children's show. What was the most upsetting was that I was seemingly the only student that wanted to go on these field trips. Everyone else was someone who wanted to go on the trip to Malaysia but couldn't for different reasons. Out of my friend group at the time, only a handful came, and it was because their parents didn't let them go on the Malaysia trip. Activity week was honestly the only good memory I have about middle school. It was really entertaining, but that just really shines a light on how unentertaining the rest is. So for anyone in middle school who unfortunately can't do cool things like this, I feel bad for you, but hopefully college has some more cool stuff like that.